I just hope I've got this right.
What makes you think you might not have it right?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. Come up with a good idea, and people don't immediately see what your drift is and where you're going. They haven't got any faith in you. How many good ideas do you know have never been funded, but they've taken off somewhere else? I don't know anybody who's got that sort of money, and whether they take a chance on me.
Ahora se camina hasta de noche. En aquel tiempo no se caminaba de noche, porque era montaña para venir aquí. Ambos lados. A andar por montaña a mediodía, a las 12, era como andar de noche, oscuro, desguastado para todos lados. Hay caminitos así de animales nomás.
¿Sí?
No había de entrada de gente, no habían caminos, a latino, a la dirección, vamos para acá. Acá, acá.
Sí, vengo.
¿O vamos más adelante?
No, voy para abajo también. Le acompaño.
Mira, voy a regañar a ese juego.
This is Santos, a slash and burn farmer in Capapan, Honduras. He's just one of 250 million like him worldwide who are destroying what rainforest we have left just to eat. We hear a lot about deforestation, but I didn't know it generates more carbon than all global transport. And it's subsistence agriculture which accounts for around half of that rainforest destruction. If someone told you that they'd discovered a solution, would you have to see it to believe it? When it comes to the environment, good news is hard to find. But I read about a man who said he had the answer to saving the rainforest from slash and burn. But if that's true, why hadn't I heard about it? Why hadn't we all heard about it?
I've clipped it. This has slipped. What's happened?
Don't worry.
What do you want me to do with it? Harry, would you mind? Oi.
To be honest, he didn't immediately strike me as a scientist whose ideas could change the world.
Have you always been a nature lover?
Yeah, all my life, yeah, always. Sort of earliest memories are growing up in the countryside. And it goes deep, it goes very deep. And that's really what's sort of fueling what we have here, and it's what fuels what I do in Central America. I started this when I went to Cambridge in 1984, and that's a long time ago. That's nearly 25 years ago. But I certainly had absolutely no idea of how it would shape up or where it would take me, because we'd mortgaged the farm so I could do the study. But I used to wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, what have I done? There's the whole family. They'd all be sleeping like babies. There you go. I don't give up, Adam. I get despondent, I get pissed off, we all do, you will. But 25 years on, the evidence is that I don't give up, isn't it?
Mike had spent 25 years trying to communicate his ideas, and he didn't seem to have a very big following. Either he was wrong or a really bad salesman. Either way, he was running out of time, money, and patience. He planned to persuade some real slash-and-burn farmers to trial his methods. If it worked, he would have proven his case. I decided to follow him. I thought it would take 4 months. It ended up being the next 4 years of my life.
If you don't get out there and do it, nothing happens, of course. You don't go straight to the answers. You've got to hold the discrepancies in your mind and not go for the comfort of immediate answers if they don't really fit.
Let the dust clear. That's how it all begins.
Yeah. They're making adobes for a house, and as you can see, they've cleared a patch of forest. It's illegal occupation, but these people need a home and they need a livelihood.
I wanted to talk to the farmers, but they weren't keen on opening up to an outsider with a camera. But then, I met Aladdin.
Del filo para allá hay que meterlo al otro lado. Mire, nosotros quemamos, le voy a decir por qué. Porque como la maleza es muy gruesa, se botan palos gruesos, no se puede sembrar así entre la basura, ¿no? Entonces se quema para que quede limpia la tierra, ¿va? Realmente, yo sé que se va deteriorando la tierra. Se lava, la flor de la tierra se pierde. Yo entiendo eso. Pero no tenemos otra opción para poder sembrar. ¿Me entiendes?
You're looking at a slowly enacted catastrophe. The reason it doesn't get into the press every single day of the week is because it's not like a tsunami or an earthquake, but it is, in a sense, it's a greater catastrophe. To put it in context, it's in the order of a few 100 million families worldwide. 1 billion tons of carbon straight up into the atmosphere annually. In Honduras, talking to slash and burn farmers, both down in the valley and up in the mountain slopes, I found that things were not very simple. They weren't as simple as they appeared, because what they want is access to fresh forest every year for a fresh burn to guarantee a crop of maize and then to move on the following year. So what they wanted was access to forested land. They did not want actual land. Slash and burn, you get a first crop, a very acceptable crop. Try again perhaps the following year, and the
fertility will have gone and it may well fail to produce a crop. It's a classic picture. It's right through the whole rainforest zones of the world. That really became the spur to try to find out what is going on here, what is it that prevents people from settling on one piece of land and enacting a sustainable form of agriculture.
No se pare, es un solo paso. Ahí mete un saco, como dijo Javier.
¿No aprendió a llenar frijoles todavía usted? Yo no ocupo andar en otro saco, yo lo lleno de llenito todo.
Saco pesa, que es un gusto.
Eso lo llevo yo.
Del filo,
Ya del filo. Mira, hay más de un saco.
Aquí, por una libra de frijoles, usted siempre, bueno, en aquel entonces, cuando yo sembraba, sacaba un quintal. Pero tanto hoy de quemar y quemar que destruimos la tierra que ahora de una libra lo más que puede sacar son 10 libras. Ha bajado el 90% en el tiempo que yo era chaval que sembraba.
Después al otro día pues, un coyote y digo, no jodas, porque es que la mierda no cuesta. No, yo estaba porreando.
Sí, ellos saben, pero son injustos.
¿Es injusto? Aquí la mayoría, el 50% de aquí, del hospital, se están yendo a trabajar a Ceiba, construcciones, porque ya los terrenos no.
In the early 80s, when I began this study, the literature was, at the very best, a bit confusing. It was certainly inconclusive, but in some cases it was actually contradictory. And it was that I felt I had to disentangle.
The huge question that was always there was, what is going on in the soil when you slash and burn? Why is it temporarily successful in growing crops? Why does it fail so quickly? When I went to Costa Rica to do some field work, one great study I was able to revisit with the permission of the researcher was the site of a slash and burn study that had been carried out some 7 years before. The study in Costa Rica was very anomalous, and it threw me for some considerable time. I then had to go back to look at my own methodology, tried a few things, and began to see that the methodology could be seriously flawed. The factor that kept coming back to me was, it's the phosphorus. It looks like it's the phosphorus that's important. This could be where you need to look. So I began to work on simply total phosphorus in the soil. Is there more or less after the burn? Has anything happened? When I went back to the soils that had come from this old study, then tried to square up what I found with what he'd reported, I discovered something that I could have discovered months before with a calculator. The figures that he produced for total phosphorus in the soil were grossly in error. Not slightly, but grossly, 3 orders of magnitude wrong. There's a huge blunder in the published data.
For the first time, that's a eureka moment. It's an answer.
It did what all soil scientists tell you will not happen. That is, it leached down through the soil profile. Now, phosphorus is clearly one of the keys of sustainability. It is an ecological requirement for any sustainable system. It's the crucial nutrient, and it disappears. All soil scientists will tell you it doesn't happen, and I'm telling you it does happen. It is the driving factor in slash and burn, in shifting agriculture. It's what makes the system shift.
¡Está perdida! ¡Anda perdida!
No, pero no arregla como así. No tumba los árboles.
Que en los malos tiempos, cuando llueve, ya este terreno da muy poquito, y dice, no, lo voy a dejar ahí, voy a ir a botar allá mejor. ¿Me entiendes? No hay otra opción para poder sembrar, y entonces eso, vamos botando, botamos 2 manzanas aquí, y ya el otro año botamos en otro lado, botamos así, para allá, para sembrar las milpas, para sembrar los frijoles, lo mismo. Entonces nosotros sembramos lo que nosotros podemos acá.
When I went back to see Aladino again, all Mike said was true. Fertility in the soil was disappearing. How on earth could Mike hope to stop it?
You're filming, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, mint.
So is it stubbornness that's kept you going?
Yeah, I would say so. If you know about what's going on, if you knew, for example, what's really going on with malaria, and you didn't do anything about it, you weren't moved to act, you would be bloody culpable. You would. We cracked a problem. We bloody cracked it.
You've got to learn from what the forest is doing. It's the most sustainable, most productive ecosystem on the planet. You have got to listen to it. You're seeing a cropping system which takes place between rows of trees. The system is called alley cropping because the rows resemble alleyways. Rows of trees are planted close together in what was a grass-dominated site. And the trees have grown and have now completely shaded out all of the grass. It's dark, and for that reason, you hardly see any weed growth. At the appropriate time, they will be pruned down to about the height of one's chest. And the mulch, the green material from the leaves, will be placed on the ground as a physical protection and as slowly decomposing green manure. A lot of the big stems, big branches will be removed for firewood for the kitchen. It's a very big factor in Honduras, much more important than I imagined when we started this. Once the light has been let in and the ground is covered with mulch, the crop can be sown. It's got enough strength to come up through the cover of mulch, which will largely be suppressing all the regrowth of weeds. During the course of the growth of the crop, the trees will regrow. There'll be a little bit of light pruning of the regrowth to control the shade. At the point of cropping, the trees are regenerating. They'll recover the canopy, and they'll be available for pruning and cropping the following year. What Inga particularly appears capable of doing is to at least retrieve, retain, and recycle the key nutrients. You're simulating what's going on in the forest. You're not trying to fight it.
It looked pretty convincing, this magic tree, but I'm no scientist. Mike told me I could find the world expert on the Inga at Kew Gardens in London.
These are manual, but you can get them electrically operated if you like. But I think these are safer.
What's your interest as a botanist, then?
I've been a botanist since I was 8. It's one of these inexplicable things. I say I'm a genetic botanist. It just happened. The whole of this wall is Inga. There are approximately 2,500 specimens in here. So we need Central America. Let's see, Edgy, this is just one packet. Well, essentially, you know, Inga is behaving like a rainforest. You know, it creates a rainforest soil, but in 2-3 years. I've only seen Mike's trials. I haven't seen his recent work in Honduras. He's meticulous, and he's a perfectionist. You know, the whole technique is quite different to anything that a subsistent farmer has ever seen. Yeah, I mean, it does work. Yes, there's no question about that. But that is quite a different matter from whether it will be taken up in a big way. There are two challenges. One is to get it out there on a big enough scale, to put it in front of a very large number of farmers, and then secondly, to convince them. And that's exactly what Mike is doing in Honduras. But, the problem has always been that it's been difficult to get funding for, long-term continuation of what he's discovered.
Y acostado. Eche. Acostate en el corazón.
Especialmente para ti.
Haga el documento, pues, el testamento. Pero una tía. Va a ser un testamento porque ya se va a morir, dice que está grave. Marina, tu papi va a firmar el testamento y ya muere.
Acá veo.
Si nosotros cosechamos 100 sacos de frijoles, un ejemplo, si nos va bien en la cosecha, sacamos de 2-3 manzanas, 100 sacos de frijoles. Se nos baja la plaza. La vendemos súper barata. Porque tenemos necesidad de comprar nuestros zapatos, nuestra ropa, casitas de zinc, clavos, porque no podemos producir clavos para clavarlos. Entonces, todo ello sube. Si ellos cosechan 1 millón de láminas de zinc, nunca baja. Ya pueden ser 1.000 millones de láminas de zinc, nunca baja el precio, sube, toda la vida sube. Y lo de nosotros, si cosechamos 1.000 millones de sacos, no vale nada. Ese es el problema de nosotros, los campesinos. Nos tienen con una soga al cuello.
La vida siempre corre muchos riesgos, pero cuando tenemos una fe desde la perspectiva de Dios, siempre saldremos adelante. Siempre seremos triunfadores, porque para los que creemos, nada resulta imposible.
This is the problem I've got with the fundraising. How do I address it? How do I actually pitch it?
You know, I do get occasionally very disheartened about my failure to get this simple thing across. I mean, I think I have failed to get it across. We have an appointment with David Edwards, Clarence House, Prince's Rainforest. I'd like to believe that somebody would become gripped by what we're doing. Enormous amounts of organic material going into the soil program. and then say, yeah, we've got to fund this.
Simulate what's going on in the rainforest.
At least a pilot.
Recycling the nutrients constantly.
You're looking at Faustino Reyes. He's the strategy, he's the future. Part of the strategy is that if we're going to introduce this to farmers, he is far more convincing to them than I would be. I couldn't possibly convince an entire catchment's worth of farmers, maybe 400 families, but he could. He's the man we're using. We're employing him. He's why I'm looking for funding.
Cabi, ¿dónde lo voy a bajar mejor?
Poco a poco tenemos que ir avanzando. La gente tiene que irse convenciendo de que el mal uso que le hemos dado a los suelos ha sido totalmente malo. Poco a poco tenemos que ir aprendiendo a cambiar de sistema. Ojalá que no sea muy tarde.
Bueno, al menos yo, durante estoy bien, yo vivo feliz en el campo.
Lógico.
Allá, en el campo.
Lógico.
Quedarme en la casa el día domingo o cualquier otro día que me quede en la casa, a mí me molesta el calor, me molesta. Pero andando en el campo soy completamente feliz. Yo hay veces que allá en el campo yo platico con las plantas. Está loco, dije yo así. No, está loco. Entonces sí es cierto que ya cuando uno empieza a adentrar a lo que es al mundo de la naturaleza, a convivir con la naturaleza, se siente otra persona.
Mike had Faustino working on the ground, but what about getting the message out? What about the funding? I was relieved to finally meet someone else who believed in his work.
Osvaldo, I first encountered around about 95, and we had a good conversation about slash and burn, about alternatives, about the work that I'd been doing in Costa Rica, and was just proposing to introduce him to Honduras. He got the brains, and then he got the power to do something about it.
Siempre he tenido en la mente cómo podemos hacer algo para disminuir la deforestación y ojalá revertir el proceso, o sea, en vez de deforestar, ganar área con bosques, ¿verdad?
Osvaldo is the executive director of Mopawi. It's an NGO, and Osvaldo has been with me every inch of the way.
After 2 years trying, Osvaldo had managed to get Mike an audience with the Honduran government.
It's probably better for you to suggest that this is maybe adopted by the delegation for Copenhagen. Rather than me, it's a bit arrogant of coming in to say, look, we think your government representative should do this or that or the other. It's for you as a Honduran, and also you're the man who's made this happen.
Muchísimas gracias a todos para invitarme aquí. Es un gran honor estar aquí en Honduras. Los filas de maíz ya emergían.
This was Mike's big chance. If the Honduran government take him to the climate summit in Copenhagen, his work could finally get a global platform.
Nada más quiero enfatizar la posibilidad, Mirza, de que trabajemos conjuntamente con Dr. Hans en una propuesta de país para el evento en Copenhagen.
It could transform what goes on in the planet, yeah. Potentially it could.
Mike might be going to Copenhagen, but he still hadn't signed up any farmers to try the alley cropping. Faustino invited the locals to come and see his demo farm.
Que estaba analizando ahí lo de las tecnologías que fueron las que se dieron a conocer a la gente.
It has to be demonstrated. You cannot preach it, you can't describe it. People have got to be able to get their hands on it and see it. Secondly, you've got to test a system that was developed by an academic to see whether it has any meaning at all for real people.
A medida el bosque se va desapareciendo, el aire va más caliente y el sol se siente más fuerte. Entonces va bajando y va bajando en la medida que vamos usando la tierra con asadón, vamos usando la tierra con fuego, vamos destruyendo totalmente todo esto. Entonces nosotros lo que estamos buscando con esto es producir productos que no lleven ningún químico, producir productos totalmente sanos. Cuando no hay alguien que nos lleva al campo y nos muestra la realidad del error que estamos cometiendo, entonces así fácilmente cuesta llegar a entender.
A buen salud. Interesante fue la conversa entonces allá.
Me lleva una sorpresa.
¿Así? ¿Cómo así?
La guama.
¿Una sorpresa?
Sí.
¿Cómo así?
Porque la guama enraiza la tierra en la parte parada, no la deja que revenga.
Bueno.
Entre nosotros, parado, usted vio. Parado.
The task we have, which is capturing hearts and mind, is crucial. It's fundamental. What's going on in Aladino's mind? He's going to take some time to change that.
Lo que estamos haciendo es tratando de que el que ya tiene un área como está esta, ahí se quede. De campesino a campesino nos comprendemos. Nos entendemos. Y caemos a la razón. Todos esos cerros eran cerros que producían cebolla, todos aquellos allá. Maíz, frijoles, cebolla, guineo, plátano. Entonces cuando la tierra ya una vez que se destruyó, así como se mira allá, entonces ya la gente deja abandonado aquello y va a botar más arriba.
Es cierto.
Si nosotros hubiéramos aprendido a manejar los suelos, así como ya con este sistema, no tuviéramos el problema de agua. No tuviéramos problema de escasez de bosque.
Hay que acepte el castigo. Pagadas, te lo dije, está castigada.
Bendito de su ley se quedará. Yo te aseguro que todo se cumplirá. ¿Qué será? Si en Dios.
Y que veis que la tierra está toda enraizada. ¿Cómo se va a revolver el mismo poder?
Allá.
Sí. Sí. Allá, que sean bonitos. Pero no quemar. Sino que en medio de la brosa sembran el tomate, el frijol y el maíz.
No se quema.
Mira los chanchititos. No puede cajar la mamá. La chicha. Ah, mañoso. Levanta el cuerpo para mamar. Está bien cavado. Dale. Uy,
Mira la gallina, se está poniendo en el carro. Aquí no ha venido ninguna institución que nos ayude en grupos campesinos para decir que vamos a mejorar la siembra. Entonces nosotros sembramos lo que nosotros podemos acá. Sí.
Los voy a hacer por estas puntas. ¿Ah? ¿Así que lo traiga?
Todavía ruedan un poquito, pero despacio, pero ahí va. Todos no pararse, porque si se para y tiene problemas.
Puro
polvo, el perico. Tal vez prende, no seguro. Somos de la clase baja. Así nos dicen en los bancos cuando vamos tal vez a solicitar algún préstamo. Quiere un préstamo para trabajar, ¿qué tiene? Hay una canción que dice, uno vale según lo que tiene. Así dice la canción. Por desgracia es la ley de la vida. ¿De acuerdo?
Things seem to be happening for Mike. The Honduran government wanted to meet him again to take their discussions on Copenhagen further, and it actually felt like something was really happening.
Hey, there we go. Hombre.
Bien descansado. Bueno, me alegro. Vámonos.
If we can convince them with their hearts and minds that this is something that Honduras can present that no other country can, they'll go for it.
Mirza Castro, coordina el programa de cambio climático de la Secretaría de Recursos Naturales y Ambiente. Tenemos que seguir adelante en este tema de cambio climático que nos afecta a todos. Pensamos que la siguiente acción era hacer una idea de propuesta de lo que vamos a tratar de presentar en la próxima COP15, Copenhague, de tener una propuesta de país en este tema de la parte agrícola ligada con seguridad alimentaria. Entonces, estamos viendo la posibilidad de tener desde un side event, porque sería más un side event orientado a la parte de la agricultura, ¿verdad? Como una alternativa de mitigación al cambio climático.
I've never been to a conference like this. We're going to talk at Copenhagen. We've got to make it work.
And it wasn't just Mike who was getting somewhere. I could see Aladino on the verge of taking a chance with alley cropping. Seeing that he was still undecided, Osvaldo flew in from the capital to meet him.
Tiene la gran ventaja de que...
En los 3 años.
Para 3 años, ya esté. Tiene la ventaja que si usted va a cultivar la guama en suelos que todavía tienen fertilidad, entonces la ventaja es que usted está, desde que usted siembra su guamera, usted está cultivando en los carriles.
Sí.
Usted está cultivando.
Está produciendo comida.
Usted no pierde tiempo. Sí. Hay que esperar que la guama se desarrolle.
De nosotros todavía usted pudo ver que está bien verde la vegetación.
Es más. Me parece que Aladino tiene un poco de cambios mentales sobre lo que, o sea, más que todo ha reconocido que ha cometido un error al destruir tanta tierra, quemándola. En el momento que se deciden, en el momento que toman la decisión, allí es donde hay que andarlos bien de cerca.
Con la guama, yo creo que con la guama estamos en la entrada de una nueva revolución en lo que es manejo de la tierra y seguridad alimentaria en estos países.
Tengo un pedacito de tierra titulada, está como a 15 minutos de mi casa. Ajá. Está cerquita. Podría ser de que lo hiciera todo. Ya mi compa Castro mañana está convencido que va. A ver también igual que Ángel.
¿Y van a ir al de Faustino, a la finca de Faustino?
Vamos a ir a la finca de Faustino, a ver.
Pues ya te genial.
Yo creo que yendo... No, al ver la finca que hay aquí yo, se van a animar un montón. Por aquí. ¡Está porreando! Eliminaríamos la quema. Los insumos. Sí. Que la guama sembrada ya es un hecho, que usted no va a utilizar ningún fertilizante.
Ahora yo le voy a decir, si logro plantar una manzana de guama y yo miro que el frijol da bola, que funciona, yo hago bastante. Voy a hacer bastante.
Y ahora que vamos a hacer día libre los tomates, ¿sí? Y sin plaga y sin gastar en insumos ni insecticidas. No gasto nada en eso. Pues. Yo miré. Mira, es una belleza. Vamos a ir a San Marcos. Vamos a ir a San Marcos para que mire cómo se ve el burruga donde está.
Ahí no tiene problema.
¿Qué año? No, el otro año puede quedar estamos muertos.
Un sueño tuvo Jacob en la ciudad de luz. Entre el cielo y la tierra una escalera vio. Del cielo se oyó una voz. Yo te bendeciré, nunca te dejaré. Yo soy Jehová tu Dios. Y ángeles que subían.
Pero me gustaría ver de primero hubiéramos ido a ver la parcelita esa donde se está muriendo el tomate con el viejo sistema. Aquí estamos bien seguros de que toda esta parcela aquí, todo se va a morir. Porque cuando venga el mes de marzo, ya este suelo, por la arcilla que tiene, viene siendo como cuando alguien se pone en el lomo, se tira un plástico, un nylon. Cuando viene un poquito de sol, entonces la planta ya no resiste ese calor. En la mañana, usted viene en la mañana, usted va a hallar esta mata de tomate verdecita. ¿Cómo está? Ya de las 10 en adelante, ya él se pone marchito.
De repente aparece así.
Y de repente a los 2 o 3 días ya no está muerto.
¿Qué lo prende, Bautino?
Mire cómo hay aquí.
Es lo que le digo, mira. Donde hay lombriz hay buena producción. ¿Qué dice, Tino?
Para controlarlo, gorgojo. Entonces venimos y lo que vamos a hacer es cambiarle el sabor.
Es como un mostatimo, que es él. Visionario. ¿Cómo viste cuando estaba regando las vainas de limón? Esa limón. Sí, le echa limón con mi gata. Con la bomba
Yo te bendeciré, nunca te dejaré. Yo soy Jehová tu Dios.
I think if I'd realized how long it would take me, I would have been daunted. And as somebody with a family, I would probably have said to myself, well, I think the only responsible and intelligent thing to do is not do this. Unfortunately, I didn't know. And you know what I'm like, once I started it, I wasn't going to give up anyway.
And I'd say we were now at the point of clearly a promising system. We have no core funding at all, and we're at that stage of a good idea that's clearly working.
In actual fact, we're down to the last sort of 6,000 quid, $8,000, $9,000. There's no prospect of anything coming in, and I've got to keep these operations running. And God knows where I'm going to get it, because I just do not know.
I need help. I need help in it. Tell me how I get funding to fund the vehicles, the people on the ground, taking this message out to farmers.
We need the seed. We've definitely got to get some seed in to get this off the ground. It is absolutely frustrating. Funds. Absolutely simple. I need funds.
That's where I'm stuck right now.
Ahorita ya, puta, ¿y dónde hallamos semillas? Y todo el mundo quiere semillas de guama.
O sea, todas las semillas que hay aquí las ha traído Víctor. Aquí es el único con la única persona que se podría.
I hadn't expected this stumbling block. The farmers had been convinced, but it turned out there weren't enough Inga seeds for them to start planting. It was so frustrating.
No digo, llévala ya porque sin la semilla no. ¿Sabes cuántas bolas hay? Un señor ahí que dijo que le iba a vender las semillas, no sé cuántos miles le va a vender.
How much easier would it have been if we'd had a lot of small seed banks This is not a permanent condition of alley cropping. It is a temporary condition reflecting the fact that the whole thing is so much in its infancy. It requires kickstarting.
Word came of a small amount of seeds in a village nearby, just enough to get the group started.
5 sacos.
La luna espera del sol que le transmita sus rayos para alumbrar en la oscuridad. Estoy esperando en ti y apacientes tus rebaños, pastor de amores, pastor de paz.
Ojalá que sigamos en marcha.
Sí, no, vamos a estar.
Que no vaya a ser que ya el día de mañana ya me diga, ya no lo voy a conseguir semilla.
Hasta aquí nomás.
Sí, hasta aquí nomás, ya no.
No.
Viviende. Una manzana.
No, pero yo me refiero.
A la 1 está.
Un poquito.
Para. Cuando yo la aviso, sí.
Y de triángulo, sí, ahí está partido. ¿Sí? Todas tienen el mismo tamaño. Sí, esto también.
Como el agua al sediento que satisface toda su sed. Eres la luz de la aurora que alumbra mi nuevo amanecer. Despertándome de un sueño que estuve a punto de enloquecer.
I'm planning, I get to Honduras, God willing, on the 25th, talking to Mirza Castro. What I suspect will happen is whatever best laid plans I might put together now, Honduras is Honduras.
Mike and I met back in the capital, but neither of us could have seen what was coming.
Did you think it's going to be rough on the streets?
Hemos dado cobertura desde principio a fin para que usted tenga la información precisa de lo que se vive en la vida democrática del país.
Esto es una cosa que nunca se había visto en la historia en el país. Secuestraron a nuestro mismo presidente. Esa es nuestra casa presidencial donde tenemos a nuestro presidente que fue secuestrado por estos pícaros del Congreso. Como ellos comen mejor los perros que nuestro pueblo.
Tenemos nuevo presidente, Roberto Micheletti Bain.
President Mel was out, sent packing in his pajamas. The international community were refusing to recognize the new president, and on the street, the people were divided.
¡Viva Mel! ¡Viva Mel! ¡Viva Honduras! ¡Viva! ¡Queremos a Mel! ¡Queremos a Mel!
Every time you think you've got something sorted, some bastard comes along and screws it up with some other agenda.
Getting out to Honduras wasn't easy, and when I caught up with Mike, he had bad news.
She's more photogenic than I am by far.
I got a message from Osvaldo to say that he'd been with Mirza Castro, and the delegation is invalidated in the international forum, so it won't be going, and we won't be going with it. Look, it's 20 years or more of
one damned obstacle after another being placed in my way. And it's just one more. And the Honduran delegation would have been a very good platform for us, alongside the FAO. So it was going to be strong. It was a very good thing to do. And it's a great shame that it hasn't happened. All it would take is one politician to get gripped by it. That's all it's going to take, one politician to say, yeah, it's worth a try, even if it's, we don't have certainty here, it's worth a try. That's all it's going to take.
And things were scarcely better in the mountains. Aladino needed one last good harvest to fund his changeover to alley cropping, but his crops had failed.
Y ahorita no hay pues ni 3 sacos. Pero ni 3 sacos pues, de cazuelo que hay aquí. Para unos gloria y otros infiernos. Así es de la vida. Se llama año de hambre, se llama esto.
En un ratito.
Aquí estoy usando una palabra con los productores. Dice que el sabio Salomón dijo, ¿de qué color es la suerte? Entonces, bueno, yo también me quedo, digo, pero ¿cómo contestar esta pregunta? ¿Qué color tiene la suerte? La suerte no tiene ningún color. Entonces, si no tiene ningún color, significa que no existe suerte. Más adelante el sabio Salomón dice, el futuro de tu vida depende de cómo dirijas tu mente hacia adelante, ¿no? Si no sabes dirigir tu pensamiento, tu futuro va a fracasar. Tu futuro va a ser lo mismo en la tierra.
Copenhagen came and went, and I was unable to reach Aladino. Heading to Honduras, I wondered if he'd gone back to his old ways.
Esta es la última quema de este terreno, ¿no? Porque viene la guama ahora. Ya con la guama cero quema. Esto hay que celebrarlo porque esto no se vuelve a quemar nunca.
For me, I kind of have to remind myself that actually one farmer like Aladino, if he really comes across, if it really is a success for him, then I can say, okay, boy, you know, your 25 years are well spent. Copenhagen doesn't matter.
If it sticks, if it's right, if it's sustainable, if it really has staying power, it will speak for itself. if you've got your subsistence very close, if it's secure, you have food security, you can also grow something to sell, you then have the precursors, at least, of what's called development. You can afford to repair the bridge you need for the pickup truck to come across in all weathers to take your crop out. All these things follow from sustainable livelihoods. The whole strategy is that once food security can be achieved, a hectare of alley cropping should give that family food security, plus perhaps another hectare of cash crops. That will liberate land for trees.
Estamos hablando de muchos millones de hectáreas de tierra que han perdido el bosque y que puede ser recuperado.
The whole strategy is enabled by the simple fact that the system allows food security on one piece of land, preferably located very close to where they live.
Back in Honduras, Mike went to see Aladino. It had been months since his promise not to burn again, and neither of us knew what to
Me
expect.
da mucho gusto tenerlo en mi casa.
Y a mí también, igualmente. Muchas gracias.
¿Puedo bajar?
Sí.
This is going to be done family by family, people like Aladino, one at a time. And it'll grow organically, it'll grow like a virus, and doesn't require constant inputs like seed, like me, like funds even.
Pues yo lo que quiero decir con esto es que yo me recuerdo la primera vez que, parece que 2 veces fue a mi parcela, una o 2 veces. Y yo realmente no dudaba bastante que hiciera lo que Ajá, y con dos viajes a San Marcos, ya que ya hayan 3, 4, 5 personas con plantaciones ya como esta, hombre, ya es un éxito.
Sí. Miren los elotes, de su milpa, dice allí. Miren los tomates, cuando fuimos a cortar la cabeza.
Usted miró tomate.
Y me gustó. No ocupó abonos
ninguna, nada,
de
nada,
químicos
nada.
de ninguna clase. No ocupó herbicidas de ninguna clase.
Limpia.
Ni insecticidas, nada. Si yo voy a hacer 4 manzanas, 5 manzanas, que con 5 manzanas estoy hecho.
¿La planta?
Sí, sí. Pues sí.
Verdura, guamero. Excelente. Excelente.
A veces uno quiere hacer muchos saltos muy grandes que no los puede hacer. A veces hay que empezar con pasitos, despacio, poquito a poco. Cuando menos acordó, salió.
No, pero los animales hay veces que hacen menos daño, pues.
You know, this is right, we've got it right, or right enough. You know, if I got knocked off my perch tomorrow, that there are people there who actually are convinced and who've seen it and will carry it forward.
Yeah.
¿Por qué es eso?
fiesta de Xiomarita que está cumpliendo 18 años. ¿Está invitado? Si usted hubiera estado ayer, se hubiera muerto a reír. Ah, mire que le quebró el huevo a Xiomarita en la cabeza. ¡Está cumpliendo 18 años! ¡No tiene el río a bañar! Una vez en la vida, una vez en la vida.
Felicidades con Cristo. Gloria a Dios.
I left them all celebrating and planting trees. But what about the bigger picture? How would Mike's methods ever be implemented at scale? The world's largest fruit company, Dole, control much of the prime farmland in Honduras. Could they be interested in Mike's ideas? I couldn't actually believe it when they agreed to come to the test plot and see for themselves.
Tenemos un proyecto en la estación biológica y tenemos una cita con el gerente de Dole. Allá está esperando a nosotros.
Pásale pues, bienvenido.
Gracias.
Gracias.
It's really enormous surprise that they have been open to an idea like this. They have the structure to cope with small-scale production of organic pineapple. It's an absolutely outstanding opportunity if it comes to fruition.
Todo lo que es orgánico tiene buenos nichos tanto en Europa como en Estados Unidos. O sea, todo lo que es orgánico nos interesa a nosotros. Yo propondría que hagamos un análisis de suelo, ¿verdad? Por lo menos a 2 profundidades.
Sí.
Invítenos a cuando está listo, digamos, aquí en el Furla. Nosotros venimos y ofrecemos lo que podemos ayudar y uno va a hacer muestreo de suelo, otro va a hacer otras cosas. Yo estoy y sigo insistiendo, nos gusta el proyecto, nos gustaría asociarnos. Implica la biomasa es una regeneración del suelo increíble.
He's serious and attentive, I would say. But do bear in mind that, this is going to be a slow process.
The one key question is, at the moment, selling the pineapples, because the scale of the operations will be extremely small.
So you can have as low as a pallet. So I can bring a mobile packing plant, pack that, bring my container, export the fruit. This could be a very interesting partnership, this concept of algae cropping, definitely. Europe and the US, both are demanding organics. We hear the voice of the client, that's the final one. As simple as that.
It was exciting. It had the potential to be a huge opportunity. But it would take years for Dole to trial with no guarantees that they would adopt it at the end. In the meantime, Mike had to make sure that the few farmers who were actually using his methods kept on track.
Mira la viñita, la guama. ¿Cómo está grande? Sí, está la guama, mi amor. Que traje que embolsar, ¿recuerdas? Pero mire, si va a trabajar usted, mire, como sea hombre. Me va a ayudar a la finca, ¿no? Como sea grande, va. Ay, no voy. Venga, mire la guama. Este es un arbolito, mire, de guama, mire. Para crecer igual a aquella foto. Después, cuando esté grande, mire. Mire, va. Usted va a venir, mire, con el machete, la va a podar, mire, para sembrar aquí. Mire, parece mono, pero más bien. Mire cómo está ya. Y está, mire, no las toca, no las toca.
Ay, llegó la bata con el pie.
Bata con yo, camón, ya nos vamos. Usted tiene que trabajar aquí, esta tierra es suya. Y la otra también es suya.
Adam.
Hi, Mike.
Hang on, I'll just wrestle with this headset yet again. Just 1 second.
Okay, mate.
Sorry, mate.
I'd followed Mike for 4 long years, and in that time, he totally convinced me and a few Honduran farmers that he's cracked a major ecological problem. But no one else seemed to notice. No funding, no invitations to share his work. This wasn't the happy ending I'd hoped for.
If you're trying to do the theatrical sort of ending, I can understand it's difficult because you're actually having to contrive it.
I had to wonder if Mike would finally give up, whether he should give up.
Look, we've changed the whole worldview of one man insofar as what he does to stay alive or what he thinks he has to do to stay alive. Well, there are maybe 250 million of them. So there's a bit of a task out there, you know?
See, that's a critical comment on proceedings so far.
Mike Hans from the Inga Foundation, and he's going to talk to us about slash and burn agriculture.
Can you hear me? I'm Mike Hans. I spent 18 years as a research associate in the University of Cambridge. So, Inga Foundation has followed from the work that I did in those research projects in Cambridge.
It's got to work. It's going to work. It's going to take whatever it takes to make it work. It's been 20-something years. I'm not going to give up now.